Welcome to the Get Stops podcast. This is the only podcast about Princeton women's basketball. I'm your host, Jon Mozes. Big episode coming up this week. We've got Princeton head coach Carla Berube coming up in just a couple of minutes here. We've got assistant coach Jordan Edwards with us, one of the newest members of the staff. Big week that we just finished off. Tough game against Columbia Tigers, now 0-2 against the Lions. I mean, this is a little bit of uncharted territory for Princeton, but there's still some time to go here. Tigers have some big games in front of them, 3 straight road games to finish off the regular season, and then the Ivy League tournament, which we know Princeton will be in. And well, Coach Joe, welcome. Great to see you. How's it going?
I'm doing well. I'm excited to be here, talk with you a little bit and just be at a place like Princeton and be a part of this podcast. I'm excited.
Well, where did we get you coming from today?
So I actually graduated from High Point University, and I stayed on staff. I was fortunate enough to stay on staff for 1 year as director of ops, and I just made some connections, and one of those connections was Coach Berube, and I was just honored enough to, build a relationship with her and ultimately be on staff with her, go through the interview process, and everything worked out, and now I'm a part of Princeton women's basketball.
This is the WBCA mentorship program?
Yes, yep, mentor-mentee program.
What stuck out about Carla when you got a chance to get to know her?
So I was, I didn't get to pick. We were kind of just thrown into a group, but I think the first thing that stuck out was just how warm she was, how willing she was to help me and our other mentee partner out, and just like figuring out the ebbs and flows of a season. We were both kind of new. We just bounced ideas off of each other's heads, and it was just so easy to talk to her. So just her welcoming presence was awesome. That stuck out about her.
Did you know her at all as a player? Like, have you since, when you first met her, did you start to Google her a little bit?
Yes. So I did my research once I found out who my mentor was going to be. And then with those conversations, I kind of dug into her career at Princeton, and that led me to seeing her career at Tufts. And it wasn't until maybe a couple months down the road when I actually looked into who she was as a player, and then I found out she played at UConn. She was a part of that first national championship team. I already had tremendous respect for her, but seeing that, I was like, wow, you're very knowledgeable. You've learned from the best. You've had a very successful career. So I did do my research pretty early and learned about Coach Berube really quickly.
I would really love to watch more game film of Carla as a player.
Right.
Because I'm just seeing sort of the slender body type and her size that she was probably a real problem as a stretch 4.
Yeah, I would guess so. Yeah. I mean, that length. And I'm sure that, with Coach Ariema, she was probably developed, and she was around a lot of excellent players to also learn from. So, I mean, I'm sure that she was a dominant force to be reckoned with on both ends of the floor.
And, you were a point guard.
Yes.
Who were some of your favorite point guards?
I'd say that my favorite were probably Kyrie Irving. I like how crafty he is with the ball, but his ability to pass and hit his open teammates, get people open. Diana Taurasi, I mean, she just retired, but she can score the ball. She's also another one that's really great when it comes to getting her teammates open, setting them up for awesome shots, and just a really good team player. And I love the grit that she plays with. She kind of plays with a chip on her shoulder. She has that dog mentality, which, it's, you don't always see it these days, but she plays with a chip on her shoulder, and she's exciting to watch. Did you have that chip on your shoulder as a player? I did for sure.
Where did that come from?
So I was kind of always the smaller point guard. Kind of sometimes had some naysayers in my ear about where I'd end up in terms of college. And I just always wanted to be better. It was never a competition with anybody else, but more so a competition with myself, is how far can I take this? How much can I, just increase my skill level, my IQ level? So I always felt that I had more to achieve, more to learn, and more to accomplish. So I think that's where my chip came from, was just that confidence that I can take this another step higher.
I guess, when did basketball become a future for you?
Well, my journey with basketball was a little odd. So I actually started out, my sport was baseball. My grandfather actually got me into baseball, and I thought that that's where I was going to go, with my sports career. And then one of my best friends, she actually got me into basketball. She brought me along for a tryout in 4th grade, and I was pretty good at it. I think my athleticism helped me out. But once I got to around 8th grade and I started playing AAU, I had a lot of amazing coaches and just friends around me that were like, hey, you're good at this. You should really take it seriously. So that first year of high school was when I was like, okay, let me really lock in and work to get better at this and see where I can take it. And the biggest goal for me was let's go to school for free. I think a college education is super important. Not many people have the privilege to go to college, or let alone go to college for free. So that was kind of my driving force, is let me get a free education and also have fun while doing it, playing basketball.
Your most memorable playing moment?
Wow, that's tough. I have two. Is that okay if I have two?
Yeah, of course.
So first one was in high school, senior year. I had a very unlikely team that would make a championship game somehow, some way.
What do you mean? Why were they unlikely?
So I'm from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we play in this league. It's called WPIAL. We were part of the 4A conference, and my class, my 2018 class, it was loaded. Like, we had a lot of Division I kids spread out, but a lot of those teams, they had 2-3 Division I kids that were going to go on to play. And with my team, I was the lone senior, but then we also only had one other kid that was going to be a prospective Division I player. So just, optics wise, we didn't look like, we'd end up in a championship with all these other teams that we're playing against with that star power. And we did. We were in the championship game. We ended up winning that game, and I had the privilege of hitting like a buzzer beater kind of. There was still about 1.7 seconds left on the clock, but it was awesome to just do that and be surrounded by amazing people, but also just win a championship when so many people maybe were like, I don't know about this team.
Yeah.
And I'd say my other one was in college when I transferred to High Point. It was my junior year. We won the Big South Championship and made it to the NCAA tournament. That was our first time doing so. And
in
then,
program history? Ever?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Right. So it was awesome. We had gone through a lot that year, but then we did draw UConn first round. That's a tough draw. But I mean, to share the court with Paige Beckers, AZ, and Nika Mule, and all those All-Americans, that's a second to none, experience. So those are definitely my top two.
Was it intimidating at all to look at that jersey across from you?
We kind of went in just like, we're going to do our best. It's UConn. They're the number one team in the country for a reason. It definitely, you do have a little bit of nerves, like, oh snap, like these guys are legit. But at the end of the day, you're like, we're out here having fun. We got here, might as well just soak it all in and enjoy the moments of just sharing the court with such great powers in basketball.
I mean, I imagine, it sounds like from that experience in the WPIAL, like growing up in Pittsburgh, it's probably like a pretty hard-nosed style of basketball, almost what you expect in like, Philadelphia, New York City, and some parts of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Like, when I think of Pittsburgh basketball, I think of the McConnell family.
Yeah, as you should, right? They're, and I think most people do whenever they think Pittsburgh basketball. It's definitely the McConnells. You got TJ, you have Maddie, who played at RMU, but then you have Megan McConnell, who's doing an amazing job right now at Duquesne.
She's
unreal, like on both ends of the floor. With the steals, the way that she can score. Her ability to see the floor and set up her teammates with the assists. She's grown, and we had the privilege of also playing for the same AAU program. To see where she's grown up and like the steps she's taken forward it's awesome.
And that was the first game this year.
Yes, it was.
Home game for you.
Yeah, right.
At Duquesne.
Right.
Playing against Megan McConnell, who is my favorite non-Princeton women's basketball player in basketball this year.
Right.
I guess, what were some of the emotions that you were feeling in that first game against Duquesne?
Yeah, it was surreal because honestly, coming into Princeton and accepting this job, I didn't know that was who we were going to play. I knew that last year they played Duquesne, but I wasn't even thinking about it in the moment that, okay, we have to return that game, and it being the first game of the season, and it's like a home trip for me. It was amazing to just have my family there, to be able to watch our team play, but then also see me in this new position, this new role. And then I actually felt all of the love from Coach Dan Burt. He's awesome. Yeah. I've had a great relationship with him, but then also their other coach, Vanessa Abel, she's been a great mentor for me as well. So, just sharing that court with them, it was like a full circle moment for me.
I got to say, I've talked to Dan Burt a couple of times because, I also got cover games at Temple. Duquesne played there earlier this year. And obviously Duquesne was here last year, awesome to be around, so much fun. I can really imagine that playing for Duquesne is actually a really cool experience for players.
Yeah, he's an awesome guy. He knows the game of basketball, and he demands the best out of his players. You could see it. He's a really good guy. I think he spent a lot of time also in the European side of things, so he has that different view of basketball as well, which is awesome. He's
got a little bit of international flavor. Yes. Recruit to that roster.
Absolutely.
I think but I guess where did the itch come from for you to coach? You were done playing at High Point, and how did that process play out?
Right. I think everyone kind of goes through their identity crisis whenever they feel that their athletic career is coming to an end. So leading up to that final, I stayed for my 5th year. So leading up to the end of the school year, I'm trying to figure out, what do I want to do next? Where's my heart at? And I just kept coming back to I love basketball. I love it. I want to stay around it in any capacity that I can. So I actually had the opportunity to go to the Final Four, and that year was in Dallas. And I was a part of the So You Want to Be a Coach program. Oh. So I was able to connect with other individuals that were in the same place as me, just trying to figure out their next steps. And I learned a ton. I heard from a lot of amazing coaches, and it just inspired me. It kind of put a little pit in me and fire that was I think you can do this. Just making an impact on these young ladies, just the way that I've had an impact from some of my coaches. It was kind of like a no-brainer, just giving some girls that may not have it that confidence, but also just helping them grow and adding to, their experience in their 4 years in college. Some things that I wish I had, but also that were given to me through my coaches. I wanted to be able to pass that on.
Tell me about on-court experience from you as a player that you feel like you have to get through to players you're coaching. What are some of those big lessons that you want to make sure players get from you?
Right. I think just being able to have that next play mentality. It was huge for me as a player. Me and my coach always had to talk about it, because being that point guard out there, you're the one that everyone looks to on the floor. So if you're kind of down in the dumps, that energy's flowing to everybody else. But then if you're up, everyone else is up. So being able to just control your emotions and have that next play mentality was very important. And now we have a really young team. So, that's something that we run into a lot. But being able to remind them hey, next play, yeah, you might have turned it over or bad pass off the fingertips, but hey, we got to get back on defense and, worry about that next possession. So being able to just, move on to that next play, have good play transition is really important to me, but also just being able to build yourself back up. Not everything is going to go the way you expect it to go. And I struggle with this as well, but having that confidence that I'm going to get my shot. And when I get my shot, I'm going to handle it appropriately. And just never give up on yourself. I think that's a big thing, especially in this day and age where comparison's a big thing. So,
Sure.
We got to be able to just get away from that comparison and just look at ourselves and be what can I do for myself to get better? And these are all things that I had to deal with as a point guard going through my journey too. So anything that I can give to them in terms of growth and confidence and mentality is my kind of niche.
I get, because I've always sort of learned that point guards are the heartbeat of your team, right? And so, but how do you become that heartbeat? How did you make connections with your teammates so that they learn to trust you more on the court? Right.
I think you get it done off the court as well. I think the more that you can earn your teammates' trust and build that camaraderie off the court, it then flows to on the court. And then just your willingness to open up and talk to them on the court. So maybe, we're not on the same page, but instead of just walking away, let's talk about it real quick. How can we do this better? Or asking specific questions. Maybe you have a post down there. It's okay, where do you like to have the ball? Where do you like to catch the ball? Where are your hot spots? Where do you like to score? So I think having that little attention to detail for your teammates, it builds that trust. And you can go far with that. Just building them up always. If they feel that, you care about them, you have faith in them, I think they'll go even harder for you and they'll kind of listen to the instruction that you might be trying to give.
And I imagine you're spending a lot of time on the point guard group here, Christina, Ashley.
Yes, right.
Where do you see a big difference with Ashley Chia from game 1 to whatever this is, game 20-ish at this point?
I think that she's starting to really get the game of pace now. Ashley's quick. She's so fast. She can blow by anybody. But I think the thing that I always think about is know when to go, but know when to be slow. And I think that from game 1 to now, she's starting to understand that a little better of when can I use my speed and get out ahead of everybody, push the pace and get in transition, but also when do I need to slow down, run a set, get us a good look, especially when we start getting in these track races with some of these teams. We don't want to do that, right? So just controlling pace, it's really big. But then I've also seen a growth point with her in terms of being able to call plays, knowing without getting a call from Coach Berube, but just being able to, I'm going to call this play out because I'm confident in it. That's been awesome to see her grow in that regard.
Was there a moment for you as a player where you sort of hit that confidence point of, yeah, I can run this now?
Right. Yes. And I think that all went back to just spending time watching film with not only my point guard coach, but my head coach. And I was also in her office getting her input in practices. I was asking her, like, what do you see out there? What do you think I'm missing? I was just always really eager to learn and take in what I could just so I could, be that extension of the coach on the floor. That's kind of what I see a point guard as is, you can control everything on the floor while they're on the bench because they can't, we can't always dictate the game or always give a play. But if you're able to just use your confidence to lead your team, it's going to be a good day at the end of the day.
Okay, so you're playing 3-on-3. Mm-hmm. You, Lauren Batista, and
Right.
Lauren Dillon.
Oof.
Is there a 3-player unit on the Princeton roster that can beat you in a 3-on-3 game to 11?
Us three?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. No. I think our IQ, we're all versatile. I mean, Lauren Batista, she was player of the year. I bet that she still has all that skill set, even with baby, but she's versatile. LD, she's scrappy. So, she's going to turn everybody over. She can shoot the ball. She can get to the rim. She's good with her feet.
So in this matchup, I guess you're playing the forward or the off forward, or would you be the point guard and LD has to go off the ball?
I think that we could switch. So that would just add another leg of versatility for us. Sometimes LD takes it, sometimes I take it. We've even played noon hoops where me and LD work really well together. But I think that's just going to be hard to guard. You got two guards that can really score the ball, and then you got a post down there that's going to work you out and be strong and finish and like have some savvy finishes. I'm taking us three.
I am very confident that Baby Batista will give me a bucket today.
Yeah. Oh, right. Baby Batista. Oh, yeah. He's going to be big, and yeah, he's going to be awesome.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, what an experience to have another member of the staff,
right.
With child during the season. I'm curious to know this from some point from LB directly, but like, what do you observe about like how that works?
Mm-hmm. Whew. She's a trooper. So being able to, handle she has such a big role. She's so important to our staff and,
right.
Offensively, she's a mastermind when it comes to offense. So, juggling just the basketball piece, but juggling this new timeline of her life where she's going to be a mother and now you have this family, she's a trooper. I don't know how she does it, but props to her because she's doing a great job at it. Yeah.
Yeah, with any luck, we can learn a few things from
right.
LB.
Yeah,
also,
yeah.
Joe, this was so much fun.
Yeah, it was. It was awesome.
Great to see you. Thanks for stopping by the Get Stops podcast.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Head coach Carla Berube will be with us in just a moment.
This is our promise: to protect your heart in every way we can, to give you a better quality of life and more time with your loved ones, to be your most trusted source for innovative heart surgery and procedures, and to bring nationally renowned care to every heart in every community. At RWJ Barnabas Health, our hearts beat for you.
Welcome back to the Get Stops podcast. This is the only podcast about Princeton women's basketball. I'm your host, Jon Mozes. Our thanks to Jordan Edwards, who was just with us for a couple minutes, and now the head coach of Princeton women's basketball, Carla Berube, is with us. Hello.
Hi, John.
How's your afternoon going?
Good. Just prepping for a big weekend ahead.
Big weekend ahead at Harvard. Before we look ahead to Harvard, let's look back to that game against Columbia. And, you and I were just chit-chatting for a minute or two about that game. Mm-hmm. What stuck out to you, big picture-wise, from that game? Like, what lessons did you think you took about it?
Yeah, I think we competed really, really hard. I thought we worked for 40 minutes. But I think we had some lapses, specifically to start the game and in the beginning of the fourth quarter, where, just let them get some easy scoring opportunities. And then we didn't get great looks, just need to, focus in and execute better on both ends of the floor. And, Columbia played very well, and they made the shots and made the plays that they needed to win the basketball game. And, credit to to them. Kitty's big three in that end of the fourth quarter was huge. But that's, a great player making a big play for her team. So, but yeah, it was an amazing atmosphere environment here in Jadwin. And, we had our alumni back, both men's and women's, and it was alumni day here on campus. So it was unbelievable. The feeling inside of Jadwin.
I was thinking down the stretch of that game about the conversation we had, you, me, and Martin Walseth on Friday morning. Mm-hmm. And, Kitty Henderson was on the precipice of some program history there. And he said, look, she does all these things so well. She's so tough. She keeps her teammates so in the right places. And mm-hmm. even though her shooting numbers are down for the year, we have to be aware. We have to guard her. And yeah, like I was really thinking about sort of that element in the final seconds, what sort of became a broken play in the final seconds there. And you lose track of a senior. And I mean, it's the kind of moment that seniors rise to, right? Yeah,
absolutely. I think we were, putting so much attention on Riley Weiss, who had an incredible game. And I think we just doubled on her and left Kitty open. And so, yeah, things like that happened. That's why you don't want to leave the game to the last seconds. You really want to make sure that you take care of business, early on.
And, I was kind of curious because then at that point, it's a 5-point deficit under 20 seconds to go. And I'm saying to Martin Walseth on the broadcast, how does Princeton come back from this, right? Like, how do you get back into this game? Can you play for two? And then you run a set for Fadima Tall to shoot a three. She ends up getting fouled. I guess my question is, in that moment, like, were you thinking Fadima Tall is the option for us in this spot?
Yeah, it was just like we ran a little flare screen for Ashley, but when you set a flare, like a lot of times the screener is the one that's open. So she was coming behind. I guess it was Parker. I forgot who caught it. I think it was Parker. That her first option was Ash, but like Fadima's coming right behind her after that. So, it worked. And she made a big shot and, put us in position to make something happen by, missing that free throw so we could get a chance to get the rebound and get a putback. And, they came down with the defensive board.
Yeah, really, really tough spot. But I think sort of speaks to just how small the margin of error is between the top three teams in this league.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Your game with Harvard at Jadwin goes right down to the wire, where you guys get a defensive stop. Chia hits the buzzer beater. And I have all kinds of expectations that that's going to happen again this weekend at Harvard.
Could be, yeah. I mean, we'd like it to be a little bit more lopsided in our favor, but we'll take any kind of win up at Levites. That's a tough place to play. And but we're looking forward to the challenge up there, playing at Harvard, and then, the next night at Dartmouth.
Yeah, big weekend coming up, obviously. But, take me into this upcoming game against Harvard, right? So this is pretty much what's going to end up maybe the 2 and 3 seed in the Ivy League tournament. When you looked back to game one, other than sort of the last seconds that we just talked about, what stuck out from game one between you two?
Yeah, I thought we did a pretty good job with harmony, both like combination of Olivia Hutcherson and Toby Nweke guarding her, but I thought we all did a pretty good job of helping. Elena Rodriguez had a great game. We can't let her get that many touches inside. She's just a really good scorer. They also had, I think, a few too many offensive boards, which is a huge part of their game. But yeah, we need to do a better job boxing out and checking them and making sure they're not getting those second chance opportunities. But in the game, on a positive note, I thought, we made some big shots. We made some big plays. We got some big stops down the stretch and, sharing the ball well and put ourselves in the position to win the game. And that was, a really fun game, fun win. And like I said, really looking forward to this rematch.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And, I know the focus for you is always about defense, right? Yeah. I mean, it's the mantra of the program. It's the name of the podcast. From a defensive perspective, what's more important, attitude or technique?
Oh, I think it's just the mental part of it, right? It's how hard,
attitude,
how hard you work. Are you thinking the things that you're supposed to be thinking about when you are defending, right? Yeah. I mean, you can work on footwork, you can work on, watching the film, but it's all, to me, it's a mental game. But you got to be working together. So like the communication piece is so vital, right? You could be playing the best defense you possibly can, but if your teammate behind you, isn't there or isn't calling out that screen or, transition defense, you don't know who you have, like that can just, that's not gonna bode well for your team and getting that stop. So there's so much that goes into it, but I think like just work ethic, and just playing the mental game.
And, obviously the defense is different this year. No Ellie Mitchell, right, to clean up so many things with her craziness, if you will, that sort of reckless abandon she played with. But I guess the question is, how have you seen sort of Parker Hill embrace that defensive identity as that back line, from a vocal perspective?
Yeah, she's been great, and she cleans up a lot back there as well. I think she's doing a great job of switching out onto guards when need be and ball screen action. She's just moving really well. And right, I mean 6'4" inside, like it's hard to shoot over that. And yeah, I mean, she's doing a good job of just like talking through everything that she's seeing back there too, and putting her teammates in positions to be successful. So, we've talked about her. She's having a, incredible senior year, and it's really fun watching her.
Yeah. And, we don't see as much of the senior class in the lineup right now. It's just sort of the nature of it.
Yeah.
But where do you see them sort of creating that defensive identity for your team?
Yeah, I mean, every day you're seeing it from them, and it was a great chance to see them all play together during senior day against Yale. The way that they work together and the way they've worked together for their 4 years here, and I mean they've really put a stamp on the program in that way. Just how hard we have to play and what defensive side of the ball means to this program, and can't thank them enough for what they've put into all the blood, sweat, and tears they've put into this program, and they're having a great senior campaign.
I mean, I think it was probably nothing for you and the staff to see that group of the five seniors playing together in the Yale game.
Yeah.
And to see them play so well. I mean, Amelia Osgood was perfect from the field. It felt like Katie Thiers and Paige Morton maybe playing a touch out of position a little bit, but you guys were still able to run normalized actions. Like, that was really jarring to me.
Yeah, Adora was awesome.
Adora was terrific in that game.
Yeah, I mean, that's some of the greatness we see on a day-to-day basis. So, it wasn't a surprise. It was just like Princeton basketball, the playing for each other, the playing for, the name across your chest, and just the joy that they were playing with. It was, you couldn't have, written a better, storyline for that game.
It was a really nice moment. And I'm sure, you and the staff will miss each senior individually in their own way, but how much will you miss Adora Wokic's vibes?
Oh yeah. She's got the best vibes, best energy, greatest kid. So, I mean, we'll miss them all for sure, but that bench vibe that Adora brings, and just what she brings every day in practice too. Like, she's just so well loved by all of her teammates.
Because I remember it would have been the Texas game here in 2021 where she got out and started to play a little bit in that game, and that's against two of the fastest guards in the country at that time, Rory Harmon. And, there was some injury stuff going on with Adora the last couple of years that I know was a real challenge for her to get through. But for her to still have such an attitude and such like an outward and obvious joy for basketball, despite what she had gone through as a player, like, I can imagine that that's the kind of thing that's going to stick with you for a long time.
Yeah, it's just it's a testament to just her love for the game, and really the love she has for her teammates, that she wants, she's was able to endure these challenging years with so many different injuries and illnesses, and so it's it was fitting just to see her out there and playing the game that she loves, and we loved watching her.
And speaking to coming to the end of the road, I mean, Diana Taurasi announcing her playing retirement. I know you guys didn't cross over as players, but what does her legacy look like in your eyes?
Oh, she's the GOAT. I mean, I think she's the greatest of all time for women's basketball. The championships she won, how she did it. And if you think back, I don't know how much you've watched the UConn, but during those years, she didn't have a lot of teammates around her that were at her level. So she really put the team on her shoulders, on her back. Just the most amazing competitor. Just you give her seconds at the end of a game, the ball's in her hands, and she's going to win it. And all of her Olympic gold medals, just pretty amazing. WNBA championships, UConn championships. She's done it all and did it for such a long time at such a just a high level.
The longevity of
that.
And then a 20-year run with the same WNBA
and then when
team?
I know a lot of the teammates that she had, and I know her. They all love her and love playing with her. So the impact she had, off the court, was just as big as the impact she was having on the court with her teammates. So, that just makes her, the elite, the top in my book.
I just started Court of Gold, which is the Netflix documentary about the USA men's basketball gold medal run over the summer. Mm-hmm. And in one of the clips in either the first or second episode, Diana's sitting right next to, I want to say it was LeBron James. They were going to the opening ceremonies or something like that. And I think it's pretty easy to overshadow her impact on USA basketball. Oh, yeah. And I know you've had some involvement with USA basketball in your career. So I guess where do you sort of see that legacy part from an international perspective?
It's unbelievable. She's had, is it 6 gold medals? Or I don't even remember how many gold medals she has. But it's unbelievable that she's had that sustained impact on that international level, right? From when she was pretty young. It's just incredible. So when you think Olympic basketball, right? You think Diana Taurasi.
I do.
So
I really do.
It's pretty cool to have that on. Just your, which she will be a Hall of Famer, no doubt. And it's pretty awesome.
It is a pretty awesome journey, and it's pretty incredible to follow Connecticut now, right? Obviously with Caitlin Chen there. I mean, what do you sort of see with Caitlin the last the second half of the year?
Paige Beckers just overtook Diana Taurasi for the all-time leading scorer list.
Oh yeah.
Caitlin's doing great. We hear from her a lot, and my assistants were able to go out to Seton Hall last week to watch her play, and I think she had 15 points or something.
Well, she's done that before against Seton Hall.
Yeah. She's doing great. She's having a great experience, and just really proud of her.
Was there some piece of advice that you gave to her about what it was like to be in Stores when she left Princeton?
The actual town of Stores, or what it would be like to play at UConn?
Well, let's go with both of those, right? What's it like to be on campus to live in Stores, and then also to be a part of UConn women's basketball? She
did say to me, she's like, "You didn't tell me there really isn't anything going on here in Stores." I was like, "What do you mean? What do you need? You just you have Gamble, you have the basketball facility, practice facility. What else do you need?" So, but. Yeah, I think she's really, it was definitely a transition, right? It's just different here than it is there. And, but I think, over time, those teammates that she has there are awesome. And she's learned to play with them and how to play with them and how to be coached by coach and CD and the rest of the staff. And now she's flourishing. She's doing so well.
It feels like every 2 to 4 weeks, I see a quote from Gino that is like, Caitlin Chen is one of the most coachable players I've ever had in the program. Yeah. And he's often describing, sort of the basis that you helped build. I mean, I guess, hearing that from Gino, somebody that you obviously hold in high regard, I guess, how does that make you feel? How does that sit with you when...
it's all kind of cyclical, right? I learned from him. So, of course, what I'm teaching my players here is what he's taught me. So... I'm guessing that transition is kind of, you're going to get a coachable, player from here because we were coachable players for him. So it just all, I think it all, is cyclical. And I'm happy to hear that she's coachable and that she's bringing a lot to that team to help elevate them and help them on the rest of this, this journey and hopefully deep into the NCAA tournament.
Yeah.
Unless they come against us, and then, knock on wood.
Well, there is some wood here if you need to reach for it. I have thought to myself about that, what a Princeton UConn NCAA tournament game might look like.
Yeah.
Just from like the storyline perspective. I mean, how would you feel about playing UConn in the NCAA tournament?
Great. Let's go. Yeah.
You're ready for it?
Sure. I mean, they're very, very good. It would be a very difficult game, but I love my team, and we would battle to the very end, and it would be, a little bittersweet too, because you're playing against Caitlin that we care so much about, but when that ball goes up, it's basketball, and you're trying to win that game. So who cares who's on the other side?
I'm sure you were feeling some of that a couple years ago when you guys went up there.
Yeah.
Goodness, what a game! Right down to the wire.
It was. Really wanted that one.
That's one of those games that sticks with you, huh?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all the losses kind of stick with you,
Well, there's so few and far between.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a tough one because we were right there.
Oh, goodness. I remember watching that game, and I was just almost feeling bad for Gino a little bit because everybody progressively was getting hurt throughout that game. Somebody was in foul trouble, and then somebody else got hurt, right? Like, part of the reason you guys were able to come back late in that game was because UConn didn't have a point guard to deal with full court pressure.
Yeah.
So, I kind of wonder what a full strength game would look like and would have looked like, especially, in this year's version of that potential matchup, right? If Maddie St. Rose is on the floor, probably a different game than if, this group ends up seeing them in the tournament.
Yeah. Who knows? But we'll take that. We'd love that opportunity if it presents itself, for sure.
Well, that would be a lot of fun, and hopefully we get a chance to talk about it on the Get Stops podcast on an upcoming episode.
Sounds great to me.
Carla, thanks for stopping by.
All right. Thanks, John.
Tigers are off for a big weekend. Harvard, Dartmouth coming up, and the Ivy League tournament coming up March 14th and 15th.